Hey, everybody. Welcome to February 4th, 2025. This is the H-2B report. We got a lot to talk about today. So, we are in the middle of we are at the tail end of Group A processing. Group B processing has started. I already got a couple of approvals there, but I also have Group A applications waiting if they received an NOD. And it's actually quite late into the season for Group B to start. So last year we saw it start about a week and a half earlier than this. And guess what? We're actually going to see more delays. So several things are happening as a result of the administrative transition, let's call it, that are impacting the H2 program and that are going to continue to impact the H2B program for the rest of the season. So the first big thing that happened that's really impacting the H2 program is the federal hiring freeze that was instituted through an executive order at the start of President Trump's term. And that has impacted the number of H2 officers or contractors that could be hired to help with H2 processing. There were supposed to be 8 additional officers hired to help with H2 processing. Those offers were extended. They were supposed to be accepted, but the hiring freeze came in. They could not be accepted. And so there is a skeleton staff of H2 officers currently working on all of the H2 applications. Now, the good side of this is probably you're going to see fewer NODs. The bad side is if there's an NOD, even if it's a minor one, we're seeing 10 days or more of waiting for a response. Or if you're like one of my clients who got 2 NODs, the second one wasn't our fault. The officer should have put it in the first one. Again, probably the officer's overworked. We've now had to wait 20 days for a response. So it's a little frustrating, but hang in there because everyone is waiting for processing for these waiting through these processing delays essentially. Now, these processing delays are going to continue. So optimistically, you might see a 2-week delay compared to last year. That's the optimistic take. I think we could see a 3 or 4-week delay because not only are we probably not going to see the hiring freeze lifted, at least through the end of the season, right? The season runs through about the end of May. I think we're also just going to see falling morale, and these officers that are there are going to get more tired and more tired and more tired. So expect mistakes, expect things to be slow. It's just really tough out there. The second thing that's impacting H2 processing is, as far as I can tell, the complete destruction, closing down, dissolution of USAID, which is now only an organization on paper and on the website of the U.S. Department of State. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has now said he is the acting head of USAID. USAID conducts a lot of foreign aid work, that's for sure. In the past, they've been kind of a soft spy agency as well for the US in different parts of the world. But in the H2 world, what they do is help with H2 processing, specifically in Central American countries, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, where they play the part of agents and coordinators and vetters of workers from those countries. Well, USAID is no longer able to help with H2 processing. All of it has to be done in coordination with the ministries of those countries and private processors. The problem is there's not that many private processors for these countries that exist. There are a few. I don't want to say them publicly because I don't know how much advertisement they want. But for my clients, certainly I'll be referring them to the people that I know process these Central American workers. It's a big. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a big deal, right? So we are going to see slowdowns in H2 processing in Central American countries for sure. Not only is USAID now not working within the system, that means the system that had been worked on and built out over the past 2 years now has to be built again. We've also had governmental transitions in some of these countries, and that would have already made things harder, but this is going to be slow. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a slog. One thing that nobody's talking about that could also see a lot of disruptions is actually H2 processing in Mexico. This administration has promised to switch to a vetting role. There are 10,000 Mexican troops now heading to the border. There are American troops being sent to the border. Nobody knows what this is going to do to the availability of Mexican H2 workers. Nobody knows what it's going to do for the processing of H2 workers at the border and in consulates. Nobody knows what's going to happen when you have H2 workers that need to go home, that need to come back in. Nobody knows, but we can all expect new challenges. And again, H2 contractors have not been rehired. So when H-2A starts to process in March, April, remember those are uncapped, all bets are off in terms of how quickly that gets done. There's a possibility that the system becomes overwhelmed. We don't know, but we have to watch it all carefully. So just heads up, this is going to be an H2 season that's unprecedented, as it has proven to be already, and we're just getting started. So that's really kind of the big news. Otherwise, Group A is nearing the end of processing. Group B is starting. We're looking at a cap probably end of February. February 26th is being projected by C Labor as the cap. This is with the delay built in. That would be significantly later than last year when we had around mid-February. And in terms of what you need to be thinking through about strategy, I think if you're in Group B, Group F, again, you want to think about switching to a May 15th start date. If this is your first time through, maybe staying in E or F, makes sense because you just want to get certified for an April 1 start and then coming back next year. But in terms of thinking about this program going forward, this is what I would tell you. This program is not going to get additional worker allotments in 2025-26. It's not going to get them in 2026, 2027, because it's the political will is just not there, not for now, which means that we are going to put a premium. You're going to have to put a premium on workers that are already within the United States who have like a 3-year limitation on how long they can stay here. So you really want to think about lining up some sort of workers for your October 1st to April 1st period if you're an employer that can swing it. So if you have landscapers, maybe you want to bring on some snow shovelers if you're in the north. If you have multiple companies, maybe you have a landscaping company and then you have a holiday lights companies, maybe you want to make sure that you're filing in that October 1st cycle for that. All things to think about because you need to keep your workers in country if you mean to have a shot at more than just the 66,000 visas that are coming through. I'm thinking through all this. I'm thinking about setting up on Frontera Labor kind of an exchange site where employers can register all their current workers themselves can look for employers that need people in the winter and then people in the spring. It's all just in flux. And again, it's unlike anything I've seen before. The only thing I can compare it to is kind of, that 2020 year, COVID year, when we had a lot of disruptions. So if you are angsty because your application is processing slowly, know that you're not alone. There's not enough H-2 Department of Labor officers. If you're angsty about getting your workers through processing, as we get closer to the end of February, start of March, just know that I'm telling you right now, you need to expect delays because the situation on the ground has changed considerably with the abolishing of USAID and with the federal hiring freeze, which may not be lifted in time to create the sort of surge in hiring that's usually required during the H2 peak period in March and April. Okay, so that's the H2 update. If you have any tips, if you're seeing anything, let me just put this out there. If you're seeing anything, if you're seeing H2 abuses, if you're seeing H2 news, if you're seeing how certain industries are being impacted by this program, please let me know. You can let me know at Frontera Labor. My email is dd@fronteratech.com. Let me just add that. Let me add that in here for you. Can I add this? I should be able to add this. Add background. Do I know? Oh, banners. Here it is. So you can email me here, email me tips here, and I'll try to cover them. Okay. Show. Can I do that? Okay, cool. dd@fronteratech.com. Just email me here if you have tips, if you're seeing anything. I'd love to include it in the show. So that's it, guys. Stay in there. You gotta stay patient because the federal hiring freeze, the abolishment of USAID, and the potential for the freeze to continue over the next at least 4 or 5 months is going to mean that the H2 program moves very slowly this year. And then again, if you are an employer that can swing an October 1st registration or attempt at it, this might not be a bad year to do that because next year, 2025, 2026, we are probably not going to get an additional allotment of workers. So this has been the H-2B report, February 4th, 2025. And please subscribe if you haven't and share it on Facebook and other social media if you don't mind. That helps me a lot. All right. Take care, guys.